everybody. Welcome to our end of 2022 Game of the Year category awards. I'm so excited to be here. It's our very own GVG Awards show, and I'm joined by the entire crew. On your screen, you see all of us. I've got Derek Bittner, I've got Steve Bowling, John Cartwright, Brandon Miracle, Daniel Alba. We are all here to talk about our favorite games of the year across 7 different categories picked by yours truly. As you may already know, we've had our individual top 3 Game of the Year videos going up on the channel from Monday. We've had each one of us posting our own video up on the channel starting from Monday. So if you haven't checked those out, definitely do so, because we will not be talking about our overall Games of the Year here. Those are in our individual videos. But today, we're talking about our favorite games in each category, like stuff like Best Visuals, Best Soundtrack, the Good Vibes Award, which is the game that made you feel the most warm fuzzies this year. Stuff like that, just fun, specific categories, and I cannot wait to get started. But before we do get started, I have to shout out our amazing sponsor, the Game Orb, who has been supporting GVG from the very, very beginning of this channel. So, the Game Orb is a YouTube channel that brings commentary and gameplay footage from the Nintendo Switch and Xbox Series X gaming systems. While games like Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu can be seen on the channel, along with others, the Game Orb will also now be adding Splatoon 3, Super Mario Sunshine, and Fall Guys to the gaming collection. So be sure to subscribe to the Game Orb at the link in the description, and I have already pinned a link to the Game Orb's channel in our YouTube chat. So please do go check out their content, subscribe. Like I said, they have supported us truly from the very beginning, and we could not be more thankful to them, especially as we enter our third year. Our third year, guys. Like, how crazy is it that it's already been more than 2 years since we launched?
It feels very weird. Also, I see a lot of people mentioning it. I apologize, but with this many cameras going on, it's just, that's the way it's sort of coming through. So we're all a little fuzzy, but hey, we're here.
Right. We're all here, and I'm so excited to get started. So, 4 of us have our individual Game of the Year videos up on the channel now. Steve and I are the holdouts. Daniel's went live today. Steve and I will be doing tomorrow and Saturday. We haven't quite finally determined the order yet, but look forward to those. But for now, we've got some categories to discuss. And I would say, well, actually, you know what? Before we do that, no, we've got a couple of super chats to read out. So let's, I'm sorry, guys. Could someone read out the first super chat, because the pinned comment is blocking the name?
No worries. It's Disney Duncan with $5. Perfect. Thank you so much. Says, biggest disappointment, example, Kingdom Hearts coming to Switch as cloud versions.
That was a pretty big disappointment.
Yeah.
That's a pretty high one.
Yeah, it kind of covers. I can't think of any other disappointments because, well, maybe
I would say the fall of Babylon's Fall. Like, Babylon's Fall was...
That was disappointing, or you...
It never looked good.
I never got... Actually, we were talking about this earlier, actually. We're all disappointed in Yuji Naka.
Yeah, he's the big one.
He's the biggest disappointment of 2022.
We're not angry, we're just disappointed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would say the Bayonetta controversy was the biggest disappointment.
Oh, that's a good one, too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Take your pick. Yuji Naka, Bayonetta 3... Babylon's Fall, yeah, whatever. There are quite a few disappointments this year, but I would say personally, Yuji Naka ranks, unfortunately, lowest or highest among them, depending on how you look at that.
The funniest.
The funniest.
It is the funniest, yes.
That's for sure. All right, and we've also got $20 from our good friend and patron, Vedron. Thank you so much, Vedron. Yesterday was my birthday. Well, happy belated birthday.
Happy birthday.
That was part of your super chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yesterday was my birthday. Hope you guys had a great holiday if you celebrate, and wish you all the best for the coming year. Happy to be a part of this community since the beginning, and hope the channel prospers even more. Well, thank you so much, Vedron, and it's been an honor having you in our community from the very beginning. And that's what we're here for. We're not going anywhere. We're going to keep growing. We're going to keep prospering, and it's all thanks to the support of very fine people like yourself. So thank you very much. And then we just got one more super chat for now. Shellshock Prime, our good friend and patron, $5. Thank you very much. Most disappointing company of 2022, Square Enix.
That's harsh, in my opinion. Granted, they're getting into NFT stuff, which is also not great, but they have like a interesting mix of good games. They put out a lot of good games this year, and we got Activision Blizzard right there.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
I will say Square weren't all golden, though, were they?
No, they definitely were not.
A lot of good games. Also a lot of pretty bad games. I remember going into this year like really excited for Chocobo GP, and it just ended up being really meh. And they've already cancelled support for that game now. So yeah.
But Square had some great releases this year too, and I just feel like it's hard to nominate Square when you've got Activision Blizzard there. It's really And I also feel like, even though the Xbox Series family of consoles is doing fantastic, Game Pass is doing great, I feel like Microsoft themselves, in terms of game development, have been very absent.
They didn't put anything out this year.
Yeah, they had nothing.
Just absent. Not just
That's
I'm not
fair,
saying the word
but it's really hard for me to rank them as like the most disappointing company this year because Game Pass is so awesome. Like I still I can surf Game Pass and find something worth playing almost any day of the week. And I disagree with Square. I'm absolutely in love with Crisis Core, and I can't rank a company that put out.
You got Triangle Strategy, you got Live Alive, you got they have some major hits this year. But it also has some dumb things. But
it is. They were wildly inconsistent this year, is what I'd say.
Yeah,
and which happens when you have 30 plus games out in a single year.
Yeah,
right. Real quick, that Forspoken demo, I haven't gotten to talk about it. I hate that. I did not like that.
I didn't enjoy it either.
I haven't had a chance to try it.
I haven't gotten to play a ton of it yet, but what I've played so far, it wasn't exactly what I was hoping it would be, or not really even in the realm. But I'm going to go back to it because I want to believe in this game. I do. I want to believe that it's going to work out for Forspoken, but I don't know yet. I don't know. The demo, not amazing, but visually, I think it looks great. But yeah, not sure about how it plays yet. All right, one more for now, and then we'll get going with our category awards. Style Boys with $5 Canadian. Thank you so much, Style Boys. Want to say, love the episode, even if I can't make it live. It helps me get through work. Keep it up. Well, thank you.
Thank you. That's really nice.
Yeah, we're here to bring good vibes into your day, so we're happy to help get you through your workday. And speaking of episodes, I guess this is a good time to remind everyone that we are not having a GVG cast this week. This is, instead of that, we're just going to take, the new year off to enjoy our various New Year celebrations, be with our families. So there will be no GVG cast next year, there will be next year. Tomorrow, this week. Tomorrow,
oh my God.
But
this is our last video ever.
Yeah. Next week, GVG cast will return as the first cast of the year of 2023. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on into our category awards. And our first one is pretty predictable one. Best visuals, best graphics. And this can mean anything. It can be technical prowess, it can be art style, it can be both, it can be whatever game looked the best to you, by whatever metrics mean the most to you. So who wants to get us started? John, why don't you get us started on your best visuals, man?
Oh, so there's been a style that's been developing for a few years now called HD 2D, and when it debuted with Octopath Traveler, I thought it looked fantastic. I was wondering, why aren't all RPGs looking like this? Why don't they remake Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger to look this way? But then this year they released Live Alive. They also did Triangle Strategy, but Live Alive had a beautiful blend of the HD 2D tropes that we've seen in Octopath already, but it blended it really well with 3D. So we had these big 3D models of giant mechs or beautiful backgrounds and sets, and they look stunning. And then I go back to Octopath Traveler, and parts of that game now look a little bit problematic. I don't love all the bloom everywhere. Sometimes it's overexposed, but just looking at Live Alive, it kind of perfects that style that we fell in love with all those years ago. And then next year, well, presumably next year, Dragon Quest III is coming along, and it's doing it again, and it looks even better. But yeah, for me, Live Alive was the epitome of just beauty of this year. I thought that was a stunning game. And the variety, because it had different time periods, there's so much visual flair going on. And yeah, in my opinion, they've just perfected that look, and I can't wait to see more from that division. That part of Square is just killing it right now, and I'm in for anything they do. But yeah, Live Alive, beautiful game.
Hell yeah, cool. I couldn't agree with you more. It's not necessarily my number one top pick, but Live Alive, it looks fantastic, and it just makes me even more excited for what HD 2D could bring us in the future. I guess I'll take this chance, since we're talking about beautiful 2D games, I also want to shout out TMNT Shredder's Revenge, baby. That is some of the most beautiful pixel art and pixel animation I have seen this side of Third Strike. It is a stunning looking game if you love pixel art like I think all of us do. But I guess I'll go ahead and throw out my top choice, and I don't think this will surprise at least some of you. Um, as much as I think Live Alive and Shredder's Revenge looked amazing, just from a sheer visual splendor viewpoint at every moment of gameplay, it's got to be Horizon Forbidden West. That game is mind-blowingly, stupendously gorgeous, and I know there's some people out there who are like, "Oh, it's too colorful. There's too much visual information going on in that game. I can't figure out what I'm actually looking at." I don't know. Maybe we're playing two different games. I don't get it. I don't see that at all. I think this game is just mind-meltingly beautiful, and that for me has to be my number one pick for the best visuals I saw this year in a game. Horizon 2 was just amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, I think Horizon was really high up there on my list this year. I probably might be the only other person on the panel that played it. I'm not sure. Brandon, did you play it?
I played it.
Oh, okay. I just remember the photo mode being like really breathtaking. Like people were complaining. They're like, "Ew, Aloy has hair on her face." I'm like, every human has hair on their face. That's just how detailed the models get in that game. I think well, when I reveal my pick, I'll talk more about it. But I think it's a really strong contender. It was between that and one other game for me.
All right. Brandon, what about you for best visuals, man?
For me, it's got to go to God of War Ragnarok.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I just love how crusty and realistic Kratos looks. He's an old man. He's got that old man crust. I just love
old man crust.
I have questions about my own biology.
Yeah, this is a good pick though, Brandon, because Horizon I think makes better use of the PS5 hardware, whereas God of War, like Ragnarok, it definitely has advantages on PS5, but it's a PS4 game at its roots. But it's awesome how the art direction can still carry it way further.
Oh, totally. Like I don't think it looks too different from, the original game, but that's just a testament to how good that original game looked. Just the realism in the characters, the emotions that they can portray in their faces. Like, I think the motion capture and the face capture for that game is like top level. Like, this is the example that other studios should be abiding by if they want to achieve that kind of look. It's just hard to beat for me.
I've not played Ragnarok, but I remember people talking about just how wild and good Odin's performance is and I looked it up on YouTube just to see that introduction, and there's a lot of good motion acting, good voice acting, of course, but just the way it's portrayed, the acting of the characters is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that Odin steals that scene. Like, that is his scene in his game.
Oh yeah. I've heard so much about God of War Ragnarok that I want to experience for myself. But as I said before in previous shows, I kind of bounced off God of War 2018 multiple times, but even though I know it's a great game, but I'm in this weird limbo where I feel like I should not even attempt Ragnarok until I finish 2018, but I bounced off it a few times, but I really want to check out Ragnarok, so it's I'm in a weird place with it. I know it's amazing.
You should finish 2018 first.
Yeah. Don't play Ragnarok yet.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Daniel's just gearing up to say Pokemon or something.
Yeah, here we go. What do you got, Daniel?
Scarlet and Violet, best looking games.
What do you think, Daniel? What's your best looking game of the year, man?
For me, it's more so artistic choice than actual like fidelity and graphics. I think Tunic is my favorite looking game this year.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, great pick.
Artistic style to it. It's very serene, especially when you couple it with the music that's playing throughout the entire game. And I just love how things look and feel. Like you cut some of the bushes or trees and they pop out like they're made of foam. And there's something really fun about that kind of style, and it's kind of lended itself throughout the entire game. But there's also some moments where like you feel very small with some very larger characters that appear, and it just gives you a sense of the world. And it's just one of my favorite looking games this year, I think, and it just accomplishes what it wanted to do so well. And it helps that it's a very good game too. So
yeah,
that's the game I need to go back to. I really enjoyed what I played of Tunic. It just kind of got lost in the shuffle of me not having a ton of free gaming time this year. But
it is on Game Pass, so there you go.
Yeah, I played up through like the first major boss, and I loved it. I had a great time with it, and I loved just the chill vibe of that game. It's so cozy, to use John's favorite word. So cozy. Derek, what about you, man?
It's kind of fitting that I went. John went first. I went last because he went live, and I'm going alive.
Nice.
I only played the demo so far this year, but man, it really did. Like, it sucked you in. Like, it is just like SNES aesthetic perfected, and it really pulled me in a way. Like, granted, I could try to say, like, I mean, if you watch my game of the year, I've not played a lot of games this year, so picking from the ones I've played, I could put Zeno because it does have some impressive vistas, but it's not,
right.
It's I don't know. It's good. That's where it's at. I hadn't had a lot of wow moments yet. But Live Alive just immediately booted up and just get those wow moments and just seeing the character animations and just how it goes. I don't know. It really sucked me in, and I'm hoping to play that game once I finish Zeno and just start that one up next.
For sure.
Nice.
Some of the vistas in Live Alive, when you like the camera pans out and you see like all this natural beauty, like especially in the Imperial China chapter. God, it's just so pretty. It's just such a feast for the eyes. I love the way that game looks.
I always viewed a lot of 16-bit RPGs as like stage productions. Like when you're in a house and they're just sort of talking to each other. It's like you're the audience viewing the stage. And Live Alive does a lot of like chapter introduction sweeps where you get like these angles of the sets, and it feels like a set. I'm imagining like the Wild West one where you see like the tavern from the side. It looks so good. It's one of those games that just sort of gets better and better the more you play. And there's some beauty in the final chapter too. Like, I can't wait for your impressions, Derek, when you properly play it, because it's a stunning game in many regards.
Yeah.
Steve, my man, you said to come back to you, correct?
Yes, well, I was waiting my turn.
All right, fair enough. Okay. Well, what was your pick, man?
So I have to agree with Brandon, and to a lesser extent, John. My pick for best visuals is also God of War Ragnarok. And John kind of hinted at my reasoning behind it. Because I mentioned that Horizon was really high up there on my list for the reasons I discussed earlier. But God of War, while not the more like technically, beautiful game in terms of how it pushes the hardware that it's attached to, the art direction really carries it forward, right? The 9 realms are just so varied and beautiful in their design that it puts it over the top above Horizon for me, because the environments are, 1 minute you're in like a snow-covered snow-covered tundra, and then the next you can be in a lush jungle, or in literal hell. So it's just really cool, the amazing variety that they put into the world that Kratos inhabits. While Kratos himself doesn't necessarily look better than Aloy does, the environments he inhabits are just so much more awe-inspiring for me that it makes God of War just the most beautiful game that I ended up playing this year. So good job, Brandon. I agree with you.
Fair enough. I haven't played God of War to be able to comment, but I think I just love the incredible colors, just the vibrant colors that you see all throughout Horizon, all the natural beauty. But yeah, what I've seen of God of War, it looks stunning as well. So who knows? I might agree with you if I'd been able to play it this year, but
there's no old man crust in Horizon.
That is true. That is true. All right. Well, that does close out our best visuals category. I'm going to go ahead and read out a couple more super chats, and then we'll move on to my personal favorite category, best soundtrack. So, Blah6 with $5. Thank you, Blah. Legends Arceus would have won Game of the Year if Persona 5 Royal didn't get ported. Didn't want to snub P5 a third time. 2017 Breath of the Wild, 2020 Trails of Cold Steel 4. Well, fair enough. You'll probably hear Legends Arceus come up sometime during today's discussion. Also, you may see it come up in some of our other top 3 Game of the Year videos up on the channel right this very moment. So definitely go check those out. But thank you very much, Blah6. Next up, Oscar Navarro with $2. Thank you so much. Most impressive company of 2022.
It's Square's like the most disappointing and the most impressive at the same time.
I was going to say the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
They've done so much.
Yeah, because Derek, you did a video. I think it was your video
Yeah.
about how many games Square actually released this year, and it was staggering.
I mean, some of the games they put out this year are really damn good. Some of the games
Yeah.
they put out this year are really damn bad, but I don't know.
Yeah, I might have to agree with that. Yeah, Square really, even though they weren't all hits, the fact that they were able to put out that much in a year is pretty incredible. And while I wouldn't give, it wouldn't be enough to give Sega credit for being the most impressive company of 2022, I am really still impressed with the massive turnaround in perception that Sonic Frontiers enjoyed in the lead up to release, because we were all like, oh God, when IGN got that first exclusive reveal, and then things really turned around for that game in a shockingly quick time leading up to release, despite how you felt about it when it actually came out. But yeah, I think I have to agree with Square.
I mean, Sonic in general, Sonic Prime and the Sonic movie 2, they both rocked.
Good point. Yeah.
Just a good year for Sonic.
Yeah.
Origins was fine.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, one more for now. Grantles, our good friend and patron. Grantles, thank you very much with $9.99. I only beat 4 games that came out in 2022, but out of those 4, favorite for me is easily Crisis Core. Fave backlog game is probably Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but I also 100%ing Banjo-Tooie for the first time. Well,
Oh, congrats.
yes, to all the above.
Nice.
Great games, all of them. Yeah. Okay, moving on to our second category of the day out of 7 is Best Soundtrack. And since I chose these categories, I instituted the rule that this means no licensed soundtracks. Not that licensed soundtracks aren't cool, they have their place, but we only have so much time to talk about awards today, and I like highlighting original video game music rather than licensed music. So, best soundtrack, no licensed music. I guess I'll start us off here since this is kind of like my super category. I want to shout out a few. Sonic Frontiers, awesome soundtrack. No surprise, it's Sonic. I love that Tomoya Otani and his team dug deeper into their EDM like chapters of their lives they're going through. You got all these really cool EDM inspired tracks for all the cyberspace stages. Then of course you've got the crazy cool like metalcore boss themes. Amazing. Live Alive speaks for itself. Yoko Shimomura, Megalomania, duh, obviously. Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Kirby soundtracks are always great. They're always cozy. Northeast Frost Street is one of my favorite new songs of this year. But if I have to go with just one, probably not going to be a surprise to you. It's Xenoblade Chronicles 3. What else could it be? At least for me.
I mean, I might as well just echo you in there. It's in there for me too as mine.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like Brandon agrees
me as well.
Yeah.
This might be
So
shorter than we thought.
4 of us.
Yeah. I listened to the final scene. I know Derek's still playing through it, but the final scene has this amazing piece. And I've listened to it like 100 times. It's so good. Yeah, there's not much more to add to this. Xenoblade 3 has a masterful soundtrack.
Yeah, it's so much more low key than past Xeno games. It has very few bombastic pieces until you get to the Mobius fights, and then it's just like it's on. And some of the boss fights, like the farther I get, the more impressive the soundtrack becomes.
Even the peaceful moments, like the pause music, is great. And I know people complain about the chain attack music always interrupting scenes, but still, it is a bop.
It's good.
It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that Mobius battle theme. Like I've listened to it so many times, and just that intro just makes me weak in the knees every single time when it just that build up at the beginning and that drop that goes into the main song. It's so good. And I've listened to the final battle theme, and as I've come to find out, it's actually quite divisive. Personally, I thought the final battle theme was gorgeous, and that when you get that guitar solo kicking in, oh my god, or not solo, but that guitar kicking in, it's just incredible. And there's just so much music in this game from a variety of composers. But as I understand, go ahead, Derek.
Also, it's amazing how the simple things stick out to you as well. Just that flute scene, and whenever you're doing ascending, just like it's ingrained in my head.
The sending themes, Mio and Noah's flute themes, just they give me goosebumps every single time. And I believe the main composer, Yasunori Mitsuda, who's one of my favorites, he did Chrono Trigger, Xenogears, so many great games. He has called this his masterwork, the best work of his career. And it's hard to say I disagree. I mean, I have such a soft spot for Chrono Trigger that I don't know if I agree, but I mean, it's hard to argue with it. It is really an unbelievably gorgeous, incredible, diverse soundtrack. And so, wow. So I guess 4 of us all agree with Xenoblade 3.
Yeah.
I do want to shout out one more that I didn't get to earlier, Shredder's Revenge. T. Lopes is a friend of the channel, obviously, but and his incredible talent cannot be denied. And what a fantastic soundtrack to accompany that game. And it gave me like 90s, like the original TMNT movie, 90s vibes. And I love that about it. But we've been talking about Xenoblade 3 and various other picks, runners up of mine long enough. But Steve, I believe you were not one. Steve and Daniel, I think you were the holdouts, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So I knew the minute you started talking, Ash, that you were going to shout out my nomination because
Ash has to cover every little thing.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way Ash isn't going to say every best game of the year musically. But mine, and I held out hope because you got through your intro without saying it, but then you peppered it in at the end. Shredder's Revenge was my favorite soundtrack of the year. I was like, he didn't do it. Yes. But yeah, I have a soft spot, obviously, being the oldest member of the GVG crew for that 90s arcade kind of vibe. And very few games accurately capture that nostalgic feel of those types of games. But obviously, like you said, he's a friend of the channel, and he's just an expert in pretty much every kind of video game music. But when playing through Shredder's Revenge, it felt like I was playing a game that was released 30 years ago that we just never got to play. So it really transported me back to being in the arcade playing the original Turtles game, and you just don't get enough of that. So for me, it was an easy choice to pick that one because I think nostalgia is just such a powerful tool, and the soundtrack of Shredder's Revenge really evoked those nostalgic feelings despite being new, which is something that I think very few games successfully accomplish.
And it has such great use of leitmotif too. Like when you even just your character selection music, when you hear that the theme from the original cartoon show that woven into the song, it just gives you goosebumps. It's like, oh man, this is so good. And I think I tweeted this out several months back now, but I like to say that Shredder's Revenge really begins twice. When you actually start the game, and then about like a minute or in 20 seconds or so into stage 4, because you get that drop in the music for stage 4, Rumble at the Zoo. And just when I first heard that, I was like, okay, I'm in for such an incredible ride. T. Lopes, man, just an absolute master of his craft. Daniel, you are the other holdout, my friend.
I want to incorporate on the world map the ba ba da ba da ba on the horn in the.
Oh, so good! I love that, the horn. Yep.
You always gotta wait for that. It's the best part, but it's so good. T. Lopes is so creative in his music. I love it. Mine's pretty much would also be Xenoblade as well, but also,
wait,
if I could, I would have shouted out on a 5, but it's a port, so it doesn't really count. But that's still one of my favorite soundtracks ever. But also, it's not in the same league as Xenoblade, but some of the songs, at least, that you would hear in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet probably deserves a shout out, especially when you get towards the very, very end. Those just eclipse everything I've ever heard in Pokemon, and some of the songs in Xenoblade as well. Of course,
there's some Toby Fox in there, right? In Pokemon,
Toby Fox had a hand in there, and yeah, just some of those tracks are really fantastic, and I think they deserve just at least that mention of standing out. But yeah, of course, Xenoblade is also just fantastic. Like they've gone through the trouble of making their instruments for the iconic sending music, and that itself deserves a shout out. Just overall fantastic work for a lot of games this year. So yeah.
So was your number 1 pick actually Xenoblade, and you just held out on us?
I did say it, but
he did, yeah.
Oh,
I somehow missed that. 5.
Okay, you both missed it. Cool, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so
Steve
was the only holdout. I respect it. Yeah.
Have some
any other
variety in
year,
there.
Gotta have it.
any
Yeah.
other year,
I actually had a friend send me music from Pokemon that I just matched to something else, just people dancing to it. And I don't know where it's from or anything like that, but it's a hell of a theme. So I'm looking forward to getting further.
I'm looking forward to getting further in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, because as much as I usually love Pokemon soundtracks, I have to say not a lot of music in Scarlet and Violet has grabbed me that much so far. I don't think it's bad, but it just hasn't really stood out to me yet. And it's not something I'm used to when playing a Pokemon game. So I'm still pretty early on though. So I'm looking forward to getting further in, and especially finding out, about some of these late game tracks that you guys are talking about. So
Yeah, one of the ones I know for sure that Toby Fox worked on entirely was the Terror Raid battles, which is also a fantastic track.
That's a great track. Yeah.
Whatever. And but for sure, for anyone that knows what the last stretch of the game is, knows that those songs will stand out immediately. So
all right,
gone there yet?
You'll know.
You'll know.
Nice. Okay, gotcha. I'm looking forward to it. Okay. All right. Well, that wraps up best soundtrack. Let's read out a couple more super chats, and then we'll move on to the Backlog Award. Next up, Disney Duncan is back with $5. Thank you so much, Duncan. Games still need to finish. For me, it's Elden Ring, Pokemon Violet, and Persona 5 Royal on Switch.
Most things from 2022.
Yeah, the list is literally endless. Pokemon Violet, Persona 5 Royal, Pokemon Legends Arceus, never got to finish that. God of War 2018, God of War Ragnarok, blah 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 blah. The list literally is endless for me. So
yeah, there's a lot of games.
This year was a hell of a year for games. My God,
it really was.
Yeah.
Jared Heller with $5 Canadian. Thank you, Jared. Pentiment is my game of the year. Daniel, play it. The illustrations and typography are stellar and play a critical role in both the character and story.
I've heard good things.
Yes,
me too.
That's
I've heard absolutely wonderful things.
I will definitely take a look at that for sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Game Pass.
Yeah. All right, one more for now. Oh, sorry, Daniel, what were you saying?
Oh no, I need an actual Series S for Game Pass. Otherwise, I'm just thinking my computer this whole time.
Oh
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, one more for now from Game Belt Summit with $11. Thank you, Game Belt. Well, it's official. I finally have a PS5 console, and I'm shocked how massive it is compared to other consoles. I never owned a PlayStation 1, 2, 3, or 4, so this is my first time getting into it. Part 1. Oh, it's a 2-part super chat. Okay. And is that... Oh, okay. Then part 2. I don't think I've experienced 4K gaming before. I love it so far. Very innovative, and I'm ready for 2023. Well, welcome to the PlayStation Fold, Game Belt. You have a lot of amazing games to catch up on. There's a ton of incredible content on PlayStation, so you're in for a great ride. And it is, you're right though, it's a chonker. PS5 is massive compared to pretty much most other consoles. Yeah. Okay, so next up, our third of 7 awards or categories is the Backlog Award, and this is the best game you played that didn't come out this year, didn't come out in 2022. So Brandon, why don't you kick us off on this one, man?
Okay, I actually played a lot of games that didn't come out this year.
All right.
I constantly tell you guys in our group chat.
As we discussed even last night.
I know, like I'll say this. I put down an answer. I put down Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. And then Daniel reminded me of another game I played, and I erased it and wrote that one down. My pick for Backlog is Dragon Quest X.
Nice.
Wow.
Thanks to a wonderful modding community, we have a full English translation of both the original game and the entire first expansion. And me and one of my best friends played through the entirety of Dragon Quest X's original story, and it is just a magnificent experience. It is on the same level as every other Dragon Quest game, but with friends, and you really can't beat that.
That's cool.
The game has some unique mechanics. Since it's an MMO, when you enter a turn-based battle, you're not just like on that traditional like flat Dragon Quest screen where you see the enemies. It takes place in 3D space. So one of the mechanics that they added is the ability to push enemies. So like you can walk up to a slime and just push the slime into an AoE that another person is about to do.
That's pretty awesome.
I
honestly don't know much about Dragon Quest X, so
Same.
yeah.
My friend played as a healer. So what I would end up doing is whenever we fought a boss, the boss would usually aggro him because he's the healer, and that's just how the game works. So I would be in front of the boss just trying to push him back just to let him get away. Just very fun times. Great story. And I'm very excited to hop into the next expansion. I hope they get the third one done by the time I finish the second one.
At the rate you did the first one, I'd be amazed if they did.
Yeah. You know what? Biggest disappointment of this year is Dragon Quest X Offline releasing, but not in English still.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. I looked at how much Dragon Quest X Offline covers as far as because there's up there like version 6 for Dragon Quest X. It only covers up to the first two expansions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh my god, they can make a Dragon Quest X offline too.
Yeah, they're gonna have
probably
to.
will.
Yeah. Derek, I know you said you didn't get to play a lot of games, like me, you didn't have a ton of free time to play a lot of games this year, but did you get to play any games that you loved that didn't come out this year?
Fortunately, I have a streaming channel that I take requests on, and that's where I get to play a bunch of old games. So I looked through all the games I beat this year through that, and there were certainly some ones that stood out for me that I had not played before. One that got real close, and it didn't quite hit. I think it's just because I was doing it on a week-to-week basis, so I didn't have the memory, so I had to refer to the chat a lot on how to get to do certain aspects of it, but cannot recommend Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology enough. That is
nice.
That's a great one. Really enjoyed that one as far as one of them. Also, just another, it was like almost, but I just didn't play it enough. I was playing it a little bit before I got into Xenoblade 3. Got it on sale, Amy and I played basically the opening hours of Atelier Ryza, which actually turned out to be pretty fun.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I've never touched that series.
It's actually pretty decent. So I want to get back to it at some point, but yeah, I'm surprised how much I enjoyed that. But the winner, I think it just fits with the year, especially with me doing the SMT retrospective. If you want to get into SMT and have an easier way to reach that point, I cannot recommend Devil Survivor 2 enough.
Oh, nice.
It is a strategy RPG, but not quite. Instead of having the typical strategy settings, basically you get 4 units, and each unit is basically its own party, where you get 1 human and 2 demons that you attach to them, and you just go around and have sort of mini battles to go through it and have all the typical trappings of SMT. It's a great introduction. From what I understand, it's Digimon Survive took a lot from Devil Survivor 2. It's not too difficult. There's some tough parts, but it's not overly difficult or anything like that. And it gives you a sense of what to expect from the demon fusion, the getting demons, and it's a good introduction. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It just sort of stood out to me as like, this is just a great entry point for a series that I know intimidates a lot of people beyond Persona.
Nice. Great picks, all of them. Steve, what about you, man?
So I didn't play a whole lot of games I had never touched before that didn't come out this year. I was telling you guys before we went live that as I was going through the list for my Game of the Year video, which will be going live soon, I realized I didn't play a ton of games this year. Yeah. I spent a lot of time on a very small number of games. But one of the games that I did play again in my downtime, because I was obsessed with the idea of getting the platinum for it, was Spider-Man Remastered. I was a huge fan of Spider-Man when it came out. I think, what was it, 2019? And because of various games that I had to cover, I ended up dropping the game before I could play the DLC or even 100% the main game. So I went back and I decided to just finish the DLC, see if there was any important story stuff that had gone on, because we're getting Spider-Man 2 next year, I think. And just chase down the platinum because it was an easy thing to do when I was bored, and I forgot just how much I love that game. It's easily the best superhero game ever made, in my opinion, and they get the combat just so right. It feels like a natural extension of what Rocksteady was doing with the Arkham games way back in the early part of the 2000s, but just hyper refined into something much more fluid than Batman's games ever were. So I would have to say that was my backlog game of this year. Although I think it's might be the only game I played this year that didn't come out this year.
Well, there you
Fair
go.
enough. Yeah, there wasn't much for me either. Daniel, go ahead, man.
That game's so fluid, just swinging around, that feels like they perfected the art of having Spider-Man swing from place to place, because other games, they kind of flop and fall on their face for some of it, but for that one, it just worked so well. And yeah, as you mentioned, combat is just so fluid. You feel like you're Spider-Man in this one, and that's a really important thing.
Oh yeah.
Well, Danny, you're already kind of chiming in, man. So how about we go with you next? What was your backlog award choice?
At first, I think I was gonna say. At first, I was gonna say the Pokemon trading card game too. Not because I did a video on it. I'm not trying to advertise, but it's genuinely a really cool game. As Brandon mentioned, there's some really great modders out there, and they were finally able to do an English translation not even that long ago. And so I played through that one because we never received that game here. We only received the first game in the States, and that one's just a lot of fun. But as far as actual ones, I recall we also have a streaming channel where I play games with Brandon, and a lot of them are games that we haven't touched before. So we're gonna I'm putting us both out there. We hadn't done the original Donkey Kong Country trilogy, and so Diddy's Conquest was one that we played this year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Doing it over NSO 2-player and just in that experience, doing it with a friend, that was a lot of fun. That was probably one of my favorite series for us to play this year because yeah. You always hear about it. It's obviously and it has a very well-earned reputation, and it was just a lot of fun to do that for the first time with someone. So I think that's probably one that I'm gonna remember for a while, and we still got to do the third game.
It's sad they never made a third game.
Oh, they went straight to DK Country Returns, so you know.
I don't think I realized that it was your first time playing Diddy's Conquest. And,
Yeah.
Oh my God! Yeah, what a great choice. That is one of the very best games and very best platformers on the Super Nintendo and of all time. I love DKC2 to death.
Yeah,
what a game!
We are definitely on the same wavelength because that was we hadn't touched those either at all. So yeah, that was.
And yet, all these years later, for as long as this game's been out, people still say Diddy Kong's Quest. No, it's a play. It's wordplay. Diddy's Conquest. Still, people get it wrong. I don't get it. John, what about you, man? Backlog Award.
Yeah, like most of what I play is legacy stuff. I think the amount I played that was old is towering compared to what I played that was new this year. And I don't know, I was trying to decide what the best game was, or at least the most interesting game was. And there's a lot in my collection that I've just kind of keep buying. I'm always like knee deep in games, and I still keep buying more and more. I think if I just never bought another game again, I could probably just survive on what I have. So there's stuff in there that I've had for like 15 years that I've never touched before. So I've started like trying to get to some of these games. And I've played the majority of games From Software's made, whether it's Armored Core or Dark Souls, Demon's Souls, Sekiro, or Otogi. But one game that I've only dabbled in before was Kuri Kuri Mix, which is Adventures of Cookie and Cream in the States.
Oh, okay.
And if you've played that Mario Party minigame, where it's 4-player, you have like 2 players on each side, and it's split screen, you have to like solve puzzles and make your way up a linear path. It's that game made into an entire game. And it is one of the best co-op experiences I have ever had. It's a PS2 exclusive, and it's just so chill and fun. And I don't know why I've not gotten to this game until now, but it's so polar opposite to stuff that From Software makes today. But it's just so jolly, and you can play it on your own. Like you can use like one analog stick to move one, and the other analog stick to move the other. But it is elevated with a friend. This is probably one of my favorite games I played this year.
Nice. Very cool.
I remember that from the early PS2 days, but I never picked it up because I never had a co-op partner, so I never bothered.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that game. Yeah. For me, I guess I'll close this out. For me, I didn't like some of you. I didn't get to play a ton of games from previous years, just because I didn't even get to play that many games from this year. But there are a couple of standouts. Excuse me. The first one, and I looked this up. This technically does count. Power Wash Simulator occupied a good chunk of my summer. This came out in early access last year, so it does count. And this game, I was one of the people who was like, what's the point? Why would you want to simulate power washing in a video game? Why did people love this so much? And then I tried it on Game Pass, and it was the most chill, just satisfying experience. It's like a color by numbers book, except you're just washing various things and environments in sections, and there's just something so satisfying about that, just cleaning things. It's weird. It's just a very zen experience. I don't get it. It's weird, but it works. And go ahead, Derek.
I mean, I played it, and I agree, but also I feel like all that chill attitude goes out of the window when you're down to like the final 5%. You're like, where the hell is it?
That's true. That is fair. And even when you hit the highlight button and there's some little corner or something, some tiny piece of the environment that you can't even see being highlighted. I agree. That's true. But most of that experience is just so zen. But it is not my top pick for this award. So my Backlog Award goes to The Great Ace Attorney 2.
Nice.
My wife and I had been, as you guys all know, my wife and I are both big Ace Attorney fans. We play through every game we can together, and we had been working on the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles since it came out last year. Just kind of chipped away at it. As you know, it's a really long game, really chunky game, especially together, 1 and 2, and we didn't get to start 2 until this year. But I went into Great Ace Attorney 2 wondering how this story, all the story threads, all the plot beats could possibly be resolved and addressed in a satisfying way in 2. And my expectations were exceeded and then some. It is such an incredibly satisfying conclusion to every story beat set up in the first game, and I just love those characters. I love that world, and it's just the rabbit hole goes deeper and deeper and deeper until the climax finally happens in the final case, and it's just reveal after reveal after twist after twist, and it's just like the ride is just insane. And but at the end of it all, my wife and I were just like, that was so unbelievably satisfying. We just felt so good about everything, and just that we had felt like we had been on a genuinely satisfying adventure where every question was answered, everything was wrapped up, and I still think about those characters to this day. I can't stop thinking about that world. And Capcom, please, please bring Ace Attorney 4, 5, and 6 to a console so my wife and I can play them together on the TV. Please, please, please get it done. But yeah, it's Great Ace Attorney 2 for me is my Backlog Award. So yeah, well that closes out that category. Let's see where we are in super chats. Disney Duncan is back again. Thank you so much for your generosity with $5. Favorite soundtrack was Three Hopes. Least favorite was FF7 Crisis Core Reunion. Wow. I thought Crisis Core has a great soundtrack, but fair enough. Okay. Three Hopes, I'm sure I haven't played it, but I'm sure it has a great soundtrack. Fire Emblem always does.
They always do some great rock remixes of the titles of the songs we already heard in previous ones. So yeah, that was a yeah, for sure.
Duncan, I'd be curious to know if you finished Crisis Core Reunion yet, because there is a particular song at the end of the game that you do hear it a couple of times throughout, but it really comes into its own at the very end. And it's just, I think, one of the best pieces of music in all of Final Fantasy. But hey, different strokes. Claxon with $9.99. Thank you, Claxon. I loved Xenoblade Chronicles 3's Elite Monster theme more than the Unique Monster theme. Wondering if anyone who picked it felt the same. Take care and good vibes. No. I'm trying to think.
Good. I don't know if it's better, but it is very, very good.
Yeah, I'd say I'd probably place them next to each other, neck and neck. I might actually go with Elite Monster just slightly over it, but I think they're really close. Yeah. They're very, very close. Okay, let's see. Oh, everything's scrolling so fast. Bongo Lover with $2 Canadian. Thank you, Bongo Lover. Which do you guys prefer, Arceus or Scarlet / Violet? I haven't.
It's hard for me. It's
go ahead.
I have limited experience with Arceus, but I would say I also didn't have to cover Violet, and I played all of it. So I would say Violet for me.
Yeah, it's a tricky choice. I love what Legends does. It feels fresh and unique, but Scarlet and Violet are grand, and they feel like proper Pokemon adventures. Like they do different things well. I think Legends hit harder, but I might have had a better time with Scarlet though.
That's hard because, yeah, as you mentioned, Legends Arceus did something completely different that was fresh and new, and it was bold of them to do something so out the usual convention. But then Scarlet and Violet is the Pokemon game I wanted since like the Game Boy games, a 3D roaming, fully fleshed out adventure. I think I'd have to edge it out just a bit for Scarlet and Violet, just because it did give me that adventure that I wanted traditionally from Pokemon this entire time. But Arceus still is very close runner-up for just what it accomplished and what it was set out to do, which is more the catching Pokemon aspect than the actual adventuring, going around and becoming champion angle.
it's hard for me to speak authoritatively on this because I haven't played a ton of either one. But I did kind of bounce off of Arceus. I enjoyed it for about 10 to 12 hours, and it's not that I didn't like it after that, but I just had other stuff I wanted to play more. And whereas with Scarlet and Violet, I'm still chipping away at that, and I really do. I'm driven to eventually finish it. So I really like the visual style of Legends Arceus. I think that's a really nice looking game in certain ways, but in terms of just the one I want to keep going back to more, and as John said, it feels grander. I guess I'd have to give it to Violet, but it's hard to say. They both do different things very well.
It's weird because they. Oh, go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
It's pretty clearly Legends for me, but that comes as a person who's not typically like a traditional RPG fan. That's only started to happen more as I've grown older. But that's not to say I don't love a lot of things about Scarlet and Violet. My ideal Pokemon is somewhere in the middle of those two experiences.
Right. I think the other I fully played Arceus, and I just haven't had time to go through Scarlet and Violet, so I can't be authoritative on this sort of thing. But I do know that one of the, based on their opening hours, I think Scarlet and Violet is more interesting than the opening hours of Arceus. Arceus takes a long time to really get going. There was something exciting about like going into those opening areas of Scarlet and Violet being like, oh, there's a new Pokemon. Oh, there's a new Pokemon. Oh, there's a new Pokemon. Like my Pokedex is up to like 20 or 25 by the time I reach the first town. I'm like, well, this is awesome. It's just get that catharsis of like catching so many.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think for me, my ideal Pokemon game lies somewhere in between the two. Like, I really love the visual style and presentation of Legends, but I like the open sprawling world and multiplayer of Scarlet and Violet. And I would love to see some of Legends ideas incorporated into a proper mainline game. Like, I really love the idea of kind of, rather than battling wild Pokemon, actually having to like sneak up on and capture them. Like, I think that was one of my favorite things they introduced in Legends. But I didn't love the fact that, you know, you had to capture like 20 of the same one to get some particular bonuses and stuff. But I would like to see Game Freak continue to experiment with the Pokemon formula and find ways to change the series. But I think for me, like I said, Scarlet and Violet are the ones I like more handily, just because it feels more like a proper Pokemon game.
For sure. Well, one specific thing that Violet and Scarlet do that I really want to see carried forward into other Pokemon games is being able to send your Pokemon into battle without actually going into battle. Just being able to throw out a Pokeball, they go take out a few Pokemon, get experience for your whole party without you actually having to go into the actual battle sequence. That was such a great thing they introduced in Scarlet and Violet, and I hope they keep it.
Yeah.
All right, one more super chat for now, then we'll move on to our next category. This is from our good friend and incredibly generous patron, Aramis Baramis, with $50. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. The Backlog Award, that's something I can get behind. I went through a Tales binge earlier this year of the earlier games, and I got to shout out Legendia. I have never 180 on a game so hard. Beginning is rough, but it's now my second favorite Tales game. Wow. Daniel, thoughts?
Yeah.
Legendia? Did you say... There's Baramis saying Tales of Legendia is the second best Tales game. First of all, I congratulate you for playing that game. It is a good game, but people don't really give it a chance because it's like it leans back towards it goes backwards a bit as far as like Count Back does for Tales series to more of the PS1 and Super Nintendo era. But I think there is a really good game behind that. I think it just the fact that it was worked on a different Tales team made some parts come up short. But the music for that game is probably the best in the entire franchise. Goshina, every soundtrack he touches, fantastic, knocks it out of the park. The most memorable Tales music, despite Motoi Sakuraba does a fantastic job, and most of the other ones that he works on as well. But it's become kind of samey. You can even hear that in Arise. But as far as what we have now, like Goshina does kind of lend some music to other Tales games, and they knock it out of the park. But yeah, Legendia, it's underrated, I think. It's obviously not the best Tales. It's not my favorite. I wouldn't say it's top 2, but I think there is some charm in that game as well.
Gotcha. Well, we had to get your thoughts because you are our resident Tales of expert. So yeah, thank you very much, Aramis Baramis. And with that, we are moving on to our next. Oh, Steve, did you have anything to add?
No, I was just saying, yeah, thank you.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, we are now moving on to our fourth category of the show, and this is best story slash narrative. And Steve, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with this one, man?
Oh man, so this one's easy for me. I have to double dip on this and go with God of War. It was a really tough toss up for me because Horizon Forbidden West has an incredible story that goes like capital P places.
It does.
As you play through it, but I think that God of War did more in terms of changing my opinion about an entire franchise. Like, obviously, I'm not going to go into spoilers here, but if you're familiar with mythology at all, right in the title of Ragnarok, it tells you kind of what the stakes are at the beginning. Ragnarok is the end of the world, and so you're already faced with the idea that you are trying to prevent the end of the world through the events of the game. And as you play through it, I legitimately had no idea whether we were playing into Odin's hands or fulfilling this age-old prophecy, or if we were going to somehow stop the end of the world. And obviously, as somebody who has played highly successful franchises, you know, there's always that thing in the back of your mind where you're like, of course they're not going to kill the main character and destroy the world and end the series. But the writers at Santa Monica Studio did such a good job of keeping me guessing throughout. I never felt like I knew what was going to happen next at any point in that game. And the way they take a character who, you know, when I played God of War 2018, and I had seen my brother play through the previous games like God of War 1 through 3 and the PSP game and all of that other stuff, and I thought Kratos was basically like a one-dimensional character, like angry, apparently crusty man who kills people and grunts at things. And while 2018 did a lot of work to kind of humanize the character, I think Ragnarok takes that to its natural conclusion. And by the end of it, like, I cared more about Kratos than I ever thought I possibly could, to the point that in hearing him retell the events of previous games in conversations that aren't critical to the story, but just he retells the events of those games through his point of view, I'm like, I actually kind of want to go back and play these games that I didn't care at all for, just to kind of understand the lore better, because you know, they did just that amazing of a job of making me want to know more about Kratos the character, that I can't say that any other game this year came close to making me feel as deeply about their main character as Ragnarok did.
Fair enough. No, I know that the story of that game really resonated with you, and I guess I'll pick things up from there as the other one on our or other one of the two of us on our crew who played Horizon Forbidden West as well. And for the longest time, that was also my pick for best story. It as you said, Steve, it goes places with a capital P. But I have to say, in my opinion, it does the ending falls pretty hard on its face.
No way.
I actually don't. The last 30 minutes, the thing they introduce, I don't love it.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much because
fair enough. Okay.
I don't know what's going to happen, but Horizon Forbidden West inevitable follow-up is going to be crazy.
I mean, I'll be there for it. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to be there day one, but it didn't, that last minute twist didn't quite land with me. I don't know. But the other 99% of it still I loved, and I agree with you. It really is a great story. But it didn't. There's another game that ended up supplanting it, and I think you probably know where I'm going with this. But before I go there, I do have to call out a couple of specific chapters in Live Alive, like the far future chapter. I think, John, you know where I'm going with this, man. The far future chapter in Live Alive might be like that. I mean, not even might. It is one of the best, like 3 hours, 4 hours, just a compartmentalized story I played this year. It is a genuine mystery, and there's a genuine creepy factor and fear factor there that just really gets under your skin, and you really don't know what's going on until the very end of that. And also the way the Middle Ages chapter kind of subverts your expectations in terms of JRPGs. I love what the Middle Ages chapter does in terms of turning things on their face if you're used to playing a lot of JRPGs. But you all know where I'm going with this. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 made me feel more than anything this year, and that's I wanted to make sure I wasn't succumbing to recency bias, but I really thought about it, and I'm just like, I can't stop thinking about that those characters in that world. And I do admit that it might not hit quite as hard if you haven't played 1 and 2. This is a game that definitely it benefits most from having played 1 and 2 and being very familiar with both of them. You don't have to, but I think you get more out of 3 if you have. Thankfully, I have. And three's standalone story combined with the elements of 1 and 2 that make every plot impact hit even harder. It all coalesced into the game that had the best story and narrative for me this year, and that's saying a lot because Horizon and Live Alive are up there. But man, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and Derek, I told you this before. You are getting to the bet. You're
I've been hearing that a lot ever since I put out my list, because I mean, I'll just put it there. Even though I haven't finished, I'll put it right there. I'm doing a side quest right before I do the infiltration thing in chapter 5.
Okay.
Right.
That's all I'll say on that one as far as what I'm doing in chapter 5. And I agree. I have not seen the end or anything like that, but I do think, like, even though it hasn't really pulled at this point from a lot of 1 and 2 other than locations and stuff like that, I'm fully engrossed with these characters, the setting, their sort of the ways they're moving on beyond what they've known their entire lives. There are some fantastic scenes at the beginning of chapter 5 that play into this world and the way they treat it and the way they think about it. It's really fascinating how they make this world work and just how broken it is. I think that's one of its strong points. It really does show a lot of those aspects, and it makes each of those scenes work. And I've seen complaints about the story. I've seen people not be as into it. So I don't know. I will see what I think when I get to the very end. But everything I've seen at this point, I've gotten some Ascended quests. Unis in particular, my God.
Oh, some of those Ascension quests. Yeah.
It's hard. Really good. So I'm getting there. I'm just slowly working through them, doing all the side quests, just taking my time to enjoy. Because I've seen some people like, you've had all this time. I don't have a lot of time. I grab it when I can while I'm watching my son, or just a little bit each Saturday night where I focus mainly on the story. So it's just, I'm doing my best to get through it, and yeah, but I'm still enjoying it. That's the key thing. I still find the story. Granted, I've not played a lot. I've not played Horizon. I've not played God of War. I've not played Live Alive yet. There's a ton of really story focused. I hear Triangle Strategy is amazing story wise. I just haven't played it yet.
Right. Well, and to be very clear, this is a game that I finished over the course of 4.5 months. I put over 140 hours into it over the course of like almost 5 months. So it takes a long time. But yeah, I think, another aspect of it for me is that it was the right game at the right time, or the right story at the right time for me in terms of like my own personal life and things I'm thinking about in my own life. And a lot of its themes really resonated with me. And I can't say too much more than that without veering into spoiler territory, which I obviously don't want to do. But yeah, so my pick is Xenoblade 3. Derek, is it fair to say that is yours as well?
Yeah.
Or did you have... Okay. All right. Then, Daniel, why don't you go ahead and tell us your pick for the best story?
As far as narrative goes, I would probably give this one to Live Alive. Just for it's funny because it's like there are like 7 different narratives in that game, and they all kind of tell their own different story. They're all unique and they're all done so well. Like of all things in prehistory, like I guess it's not really a spoiler or anything, but there's no dialogue. There's no narrative really. Or there's narrative, but there's no speech bubbles. Everything is done by like grunts and just animation with sprites and everything, and that's so creative and clever. And the fact that you can kind of just tell what's happening and what's going on by motions and everything. Things like the ancient China as well. Like when you're the sensei and you're having these other characters kind of become your apprentices, and the direction that it goes towards the end of that, something that you don't even expect to see happen. And there's just so many chapters that they just try something differently, and they pull it off in such a unique way that you don't see in storytelling, that you can't really accomplish in other methods of storytelling. Like the chapter with Akira. the way that it just opens, the opening of that chapter is fantastic. It's just like this older classic anime or something.
It's so good.
But yeah, there's so much about that that's just, it works so well, and then just leading up to the final chapter is just, it's really good. Just yeah, I would have to say that's for me for best narrative as well.
Nice.
And when you pay attention to all the little details and realize kind of how things have been hinted at throughout, and you realize it, it's like, oh, that's so cool. John, I have a feeling you're gonna want to piggyback on this, man.
Well, actually, not quite.
Okay.
So I think in recent years I have leaned away from favoring stories where gameplay and story are two different separated things. So and you can tell a perfectly good story like that, where you just sort of stop playing and listen to a cutscene or whatever. You can that's fine. You can do that. But I think the games that have hit harder for me have been the ones that tell their story without interrupting the game, or tell their story through the game world, and you interpret it the way you want to interpret it. And so Signalis, for me, has had a lot of that going on. Because there is a linear story that happens, but there's also a lot that just isn't explained, and you have to sort of work it out yourself. And that is kind of amplified further by how much you can change the story over the course of your game. Like, you can get a bunch of different endings, and they all kind of have themes to what the game is. And so by the end, you're like, when the game is off, you're thinking about the game. It is a very heavy feeling of storytelling that not very many games do, and it just hits really hard. So yeah, I think you can play through that game from start to finish and have a satisfying story, but the more you think about it, the better it gets. And yeah, that's pretty important to me.
Very
nice. I'd love to play it. I can't argue with that. I'd love to play it. I know you seem to really love it. I saw your Game of the Year video, and it really intrigued me.
I feel like a bunch of you guys would love this game. I think it's on Game Pass. I got it on Switch, but I think it was on Game Pass too.
Oh, okay.
Alrighty. Well, then, Brandon, that leaves you, my friend.
I'm going to have to give this one to the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative.
Ooh.
All right.
I mean, that's a game all about narrative, so there you go.
Yeah.
I adore the original the Somnium Files, and this is an incredible sequel. I'm not quite finished with it yet. I'm like 80% through the game, but I can tell you already that what I've experienced thus far in the game is a cut above everything else I've played as far as narrative is concerned. I am drinking the Uchikoshi juice. If you haven't played the Somnium Files, the original one, I definitely suggest it. Especially amongst this group, because I think you'd all like it a lot.
Yeah,
probably.
Sure.
Also on Game Pass, I believe.
Oh wow.
Yeah, gotta love.
Go figure.
Picks up after the first game, so definitely play the first game first.
Okay.
A lot of fan service in it if you really enjoyed that first one, and despite that, it stands on its own 2 feet. I don't want to get
Nice.
I'm going to save
I just want to say I love how diverse all of our picks have been, mostly throughout the show.
Other than music.
Not all just, other than music. But like generally, I like that we have a wide range of games we're talking about. It's very cool. All right, let's read out a few super chats and we'll move on to our next category. Oh man, I love this name so much, and I know I said that last time I read out a super chat of yours. How's the pie with $19.99? I love it so much. Thank you. Loving the individual Game of the Year vids, and always good to see y'all all together for a stream. Thanks as always for what you guys do. Well, thank you very much, House the Pie. Thank you for having such a name
absolutely,
and referencing one of the best scenes in any movie ever. Next up, Disney Duncan with $2. Thank you, Duncan. Who played A Maritime Bay Adventure?
Not me. No. Should we be playing that game? Is that a recommendation?
I can't say I've played it, but I'm not against it.
I've not heard of it.
No, I have not either.
It's a My Little Pony game.
My Little Pony. I figured it was a My Little Pony game. Yeah. Maritime. That's actually really good. That's a really good pun.
Oh, they know their puns.
Yeah, they should. I guess so. No, haven't played it, but I'm not against it. Next up, Hustle Bones with $9.99. Thank you, Hustle Bones. Love you guys. For old games, this year I beat Luigi's Mansion 3, started Bloodborne, and I'm currently working through Okami. All three are incredible experiences.
Yes.
What a list. Yeah,
a hell of a list.
You have great taste. Okami is my second favorite game of all time. Enjoy the ride, my friend. It is wonderful. Claxon with $9.99. Thank you very much. For Ash's pick for Backlog, rather than saying I didn't like some of you play a lot of, I thought Ash was saying I didn't like some of you. I was concerned he was having a falling out. LOL. Sorry. The jig is up.
Subtext
the
is there.
out. I don't like anybody here. Sorry. Yeah, no. Definitely was not saying that. No falling out. We're all good here, Claxton. Thank you. All right, and Disney Duncan with $2 again, saying they did finish FF7 Crisis Core Reunion, but still didn't like the soundtrack. Hey, you know what?
That's
fair enough.
Fair enough.
That's okay.
That's totally fair. Yeah.
I need to finish Crisis Core. I'm so close.
I know, me too. Thank you very much, Duncan. And one more for now, then we'll move on. Master of Hamsters with $5. Thank you very much. Best backlog might be Cyber Sleuth. I didn't really like the characters and the gameplay is kind of mindless, but I've over 100 hours, so what do I know? Fair enough.
I want to give it a go. Yeah,
I've heard good things about Cyber Sleuth, and the funny thing to me is that the character designer of that game is also the same character designer of Devil Survivor 2, and
okay.
I'm curious if he reins himself in at all for Digimon, because he has proclivities in Devil Survivor 2 for character design regarding women.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah. All right. Okay, well, let's move on to our 5th of 7 categories. We're chugging right along here, and this next category is the Good Vibes Award. We have, of course, had to have an award after our namesake, excuse me. And this is the game that made you feel the most warm fuzzies this year. And this can mean anything, but you know what those warm fuzzies are. It just makes you feel so cozy and snuggly and just feels really good. And Derek, I want to have you start us off with this one, man.
I mean, how could it not be Kirby in the Forgotten Land at this point? Like, even though like you start up that game and it's just so cute and lovable, and you just enjoy it, and then you build up your Waddle Dee town. You have this lovely combat, and Elfalin, he's adorable. Like it's made to be good vibes, even with the horror at the end of the game.
I was gonna say, are you calling that a good vibe?
I mean, right? 99% of it, but it's still great vibes. You got Kirby sleeping. They know how to play into it and have all the cuteness in there. Right. It's good. It's honestly some of my favorite combat ever in a Kirby game. I love that dodge mechanic so much. I want more boss battles just for that. Give me a sequel so I can have more of that combat. It's so good. But yeah, it's just good vibes, and even better vibes because I got to play through it twice. Once by myself for the review, and then played through it again for Amy on her channel, us playing co-op where I played Bandana Waddle Dee, and it was just a good time to see her experience because she's not played a lot of Kirby games. So it's most good vibes for me this year.
The fact that one of the Waddle Dee achievements in one of the stages is literally just to take a nap by the pool, that says everything about how cozy this game is. Just use the sleep ability by the pool and you get a Waddle Dee, and I love that so much. Brandon, what about you, man?
He just pulls out of bed. How is that not cozy?
It's so
right. Good. That's a good looking bed.
My good vibes game. It's weird saying that.
I know, right?
Tunic is just one of the coziest games I think I've ever played. It's so reminiscent of that era of kneeling by the television or laying down on your stomach with the controller in your hands playing Zelda. Oh my god. Just having that instruction manual with all that like NES style Zelda art, it brought me back, man.
I love that art. That NES manual is so cool.
It is so clever how I've only played a tiny bit, like an hour's worth, but that I was like blown away by, you build the manual. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's so cool.
It's so good.
It's crazy how when I look back on it, that's how I perceive manuals. Like I'll look at it, I don't read the whole thing, but I see the images and I kind of infer what to do with these images, and that's exactly what Tunic's manual is doing. You don't actually read it all because you can't. You use a different language, but you get the most important parts out of it and you kind of learn as you're going along, and that was just a really clever way of doing that.
Yeah, I couldn't trade that gaming experience for the world. If I could erase my memory and play it again, I absolutely would.
That's that's how you know.
You can give
yeah,
exactly.
really.
I totally get that. John, what about you, man?
I really want to say Sports Story. I won't. But Sports Story is a brilliant game that is lost in in an undercooked experience, because I think if you're thinking of playing that game right now, hold off, because it's not in a state that it deserves to be played in, because it is every bit as cozy and good as Golf Story was, more ambitious even, but it is just so full of crashes and bugs that it's not worth playing right now, but it will be, hopefully, eventually. So instead, I'm going to give it to Harvestella, which it wasn't the best game of the year, but it was a really nice experience. It was so cool just building up your farm, and of course there's so many farming games coming out on the Switch this year, but this one stands out with a brilliant mix of RPG mechanics, and yeah, there's like a cloud of darkness that comes along as well, so it definitely isn't always this cozy, happy-go-lucky game. But when it's over and you go back to the peaceful moment, it just kind of feels whole again. So yeah, I loved Harvestella. It's not a game of the year, but it is a very good game.
It seemed like this year's Sakuna of Rice and Rain, like just an interesting way of combining farming and combat.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Steve, what about you, man?
Can't believe I'm going to say this.
Uh-oh.
My good vibes game of the year is Fortnite.
Wow.
That makes sense to me. I know the context.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played 150 hours of this game this year.
Amazing.
And it's so, it's weird to nominate a game where you parachute onto an island and kill every other thing you see, but this year my kids got really into Fortnite. And so it's become something of a nightly ritual in our house that before bedtime we play a couple matches of Fortnite, and we squad up together, and me and my girls, and we'll kind of just run around and shoot people, and my kids are getting surprisingly good at this, which I don't know is like it's the first time that we've kind of connected with a game on the same level as each other. Normally it's like my kids are trying to get interested in a game I'm playing that they can't really get into, or I'm trying to play a game that they're into that I'm not really connecting with. But this is the first game where we've kind of all equally enjoyed the experience of playing it. And so it's just, it's something really special when you're playing a game with your kids and like seeing, like I'm really proud of them as a gamer dad, like seeing my kid like actually getting better at this game, and being able to have an experience where I feel like I don't want to say like lowering myself, but like, kind of suspending my critical thinking to enjoy a game. Like, because I've played Roblox with them and I hate Roblox.
Oh, yeah.
But this is the first game where it's like, okay, at least the core elements of this game are really fun. And we can all kind of agree that we all like this game. So it's not me trying to, get on their level or them trying to get on mine. And because of that, it makes me feel good every time I play it with them. Like, I deeply enjoy playing this game with my kids, even if it is, grabbing a gun and killing people. To me, just the way it makes me feel to be able to fully share my love of gaming with them, it's an irreplaceable feeling that I can't get anywhere else currently.
Totally get that.
Goku.
Yeah, you can also be Goku. Yeah, a very poorly drawn Goku.
No, I totally get that. That's an element that's very specific to you and playing with your kids, and that totally makes sense, man. Daniel, what about you, my friend?
I'm gonna double back on Kirby as well, because that's a game that I played all the way through, 100%ed. Gladly would 100% it. And it's also a game that I introduced my little sister to.
Oh, cool.
She's only 8 years old, but she we played some games here like Mario Kart and such. But this is the first time she's actually played like a game where you move around and you have free control and you can do combat and stuff. And thankfully, I could be Bandana D to help her along with certain things. But it was really interesting to see how someone who's not used to this learns and can adapt, and you have to remind them every now and then, you can do this, you can jump, you can remove your powers, but also just kind of watching them kind of just get the hang of it without you telling them. It's a really cool experience to see that happen, and that just it's Kirby, that just adds to the good vibes as well. But yeah, just playing that throughout the entire way myself as well, just so many things to love about that game. It feels like a game out of time. It feels like it reminds me of the GameCube days. It feels like a game that should have been on the GameCube, and that's not.
Oh, sure.
I said in my video, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing
Yeah.
because this is the era in which many games were making their 2D transition into 3D, and Kirby accomplished that pretty flawlessly. And yeah, aside from the final boss, where it's not maybe not easy. Although I don't know, everyone comes together for a hug. You can just think of it that way.
Yeah,
But
there you go.
Yeah.
it's still a good time.
Kirby's 3D transition feels so effortless.
It does.
It obviously wasn't. Like if you look at all of their dev talks about how they managed to make it work, there's a lot of effort in there. But it feels so natural. It makes you wonder why it wasn't always this way, but I'm glad that they waited until now to just get it right, because what a debut.
And I never thought a game would ever make me have such conflicted feelings about the otherwise innocuous phrase, and here we are. But when I hear those 4 words in sequence now, I'm like, I get scared. I'm looking around all nervous. For me, in any other year, it would probably have been Kirby in the Forgotten Land. It was almost Kirby for me. It's Kirby. He's my favorite Nintendo character of all time. He is the literal video game definition of a warm, cozy hug. And yeah, in most other years, it would have been Kirby. I loved it. Like you, Derek, I played through it once myself, and then again with my wife. She and I both love Kirby. Amazing game. So many cozy moments. And I also want to give a quick shout out to Sonic Frontiers. Not that the entire game was cozy, but as a huge fan of that world and especially those characters, there were some character interactions between Sonic and Tails specifically that made me feel so warm and fuzzy and good, because they finally course corrected Tails' character, and just the development he goes through in Frontiers, kind of the reset, I guess, almost like, again, course correcting, and just the dialogue and the history between Sonic and Tails, and how much you can tell they really do care about each other. And also there's a specific scene with Sonic and Knuckles as well, and their banter together. It just made me feel really good seeing these characters I grew up with and whom I've known for so long, whom I love so much, kind of reconnect and have proper development going forward again. Really felt good. But for me, and this kind of goes back to what you were saying, Steve, about having a very specific experience that is specific to you. For me, my Good Vibes Award has to go to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. And I totally get that only applies if you have a very specific nostalgia for Ninja Turtles, and especially the original cartoon like I do. And I do. And it's not just because of my dad. My dad is a big part of that for sure. But it's not just him. I grew up with Ninja Turtles, and specifically that version of Ninja Turtles. And I have so much love and nostalgia for that version of these characters, and Shredder's Revenge is just exploding with love for the 80s version of the Turtles. And there are so many little background details and little animations, and like when you're playing through the Coney Island stage and the foot soldiers are tapping to the beat of the music, and you've got the foot soldiers playing their Game Boys in the first stage, and it's just you get all these little character cameos like Burn and Irma, and all of it just comes together to make me feel like a kid again. And let's see, I think Vedron just said in a live audience chat, Mondo Notion, dude. The fact that they got all the original voice actors, including my dad, to reprise their roles was one of the best things they could have done for this game. And it really is all summed up for me that whenever I just played through the game again recently after the update, and I never skipped the end of stage animation, because every time I hear the turtles yell "Cowabunga" all together in unison, I just feel like a little kid again. And even thinking about it now, it gives me goosebumps. And so I realize you have to have that nostalgia to feel the way I do, and so it's very specific to me. But yeah, it's Shredder's Revenge. It just makes me feel like a kid again when I play it, and there's just so much love for the 80s version of the Turtles, and that it's pretty, like I said, in any other year, Kirby, but yeah, Shredder's Revenge takes it for me for the Good Vibes Award.
Nice.
And yeah. And okay, well, that brings us to some more super chats. Rec BCQ is back with $5. Thank you very much, Rec. I got a PS5 for Christmas this year. I just platinum Astro Playroom, and now I can play more rave about. Also, yes, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is dope. Oh, congrats on getting a PS5, and I'm so glad you've already Astro's Playroom. What a game. Best pack-in game ever, probably.
It's still my favorite PS5 game by a pretty high margin.
Wow.
It's tough for me to say it's the best pack-in game, because I still think about Wii Sports all the time and how much like I loved playing Wii. I probably played Wii Sports for like a solid 2 years after I got my Wii. And I love Astro's Playroom. I think my only regret is that it's not like I would have easily bought like a full-fledged $70 platformer, you know, from Team Asobi that fleshed that game out and made it even bigger. But it's in strong contention with Wii Sports in my mind for like the best pack-in game ever.
Yeah, Grandma probably didn't play Astro's Playroom.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. All right, next up is Klaxon with $4.99. Thank you again, Klaxon. Does Krusty Kratos work for Mr. Krabs with the Krusty Krab, or is he trying to kill Krusty to become the new Krusty the Clown?
Why not both?
There you go.
Yeah, why not both? Indeed.
On
Rec BCQ is back. $5. Thank you so much for your generosity. I came here late since I was at physical therapy, but I'm glad I made it to hear my game of the year, Xenoblade 3, get mentioned. Well, we're glad you made it back here in time for that too, and I hope your physical therapy went well, my friend.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
He's scrolling. Stop scrolling so fast.
Disney Duncan with $2 saying, I did like Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core reunion music, just not as much as the others. Fair enough.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yep.
Fair enough. Colin with $10 Canadian. Thank you very much, Colin. I was really cynical about it pre-launch, but Midnight Suns is easily my coziest game this year. The game's social system is so good, and I love just chilling out with the heroes and my doggo at the Abbey.
I've heard good things.
Marvel had a pretty good year for games. I've heard Marvel Snap is apparently surprisingly great. I've not given it a go myself, but Midnight Suns, it is surprisingly good. Yeah.
One of my buddies really loves Midnight Suns, and I've looked into the gameplay. It doesn't really seem like it's my thing, but he loves it, and I've heard a lot of people talking about it, so I'm really glad it's landed for people. All right, one more for now, and then we'll move on to our penultimate category of the day. Rec BCQ once more with $5. Thank you so much. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet gave me good vibes. For me because despite it getting dark, I love the characters and gameplay. Pokemon is my gaming comfort food, though. Totally get it. Pokemon is always
makes
very
sense.
cozy. Yeah. Okay, we're up to our second to last category of the day, and that is our favorite new character introduced in 2022. And Daniel, I'd like you to get us started off with this one, my friend.
Oh, mine? It's gonna be Uni from Xenoblade Chronicles.
Nice. Yeah.
What a fun, hilarious character.
She's the bus.
The bus, the one and only bus. I think she just stands out amongst all the other ones, and her relation with and her back and forth with characters like Tyon are very memorable. I love both of those characters very much. He's very on this list as well, and just seeing them interact and her just being a lot more prude with her language and such throughout the entire. And the things she says, everyone knows the babies line. That one is just hilarious.
It's so good.
How many Xenoblade characters are we going to say in this?
I know.
I mean,
it's just
I mean, the thing is,
characters here.
Daniel has good taste because that's what I picked.
It's so funny.
Judy just stands out. Really amongst them. Like I like the others, absolutely. You love the entire cast, but Uni just has that perfect balance of just everything. She's serious, she's funny, she's kicks into gear. She's great when she gets annoyed. It's just an all around great character, and I did not expect Uni to become my favorite, but she is absolutely my favorite.
The way when she's pissed off and she names like every body part of the queen throughout the entire game.
Yeah. Queen's wings. It's Uni. Oh, Jesus. Well, I had multiple Xenoblade 3 characters down, and I've been fighting because I actually was gonna go with Uni, but now I feel like I should give another character some love.
No, Uni deserves it all.
No, you don't get to change your mind.
No, you don't get to change it.
Man, I don't. But there's Manana, and there's Tyon, and there's Mio too. How can I? Come on. I do, just because there's so much Xenoblade 3 love. Quick shout outs to Katalo from Horizon Forbidden West. Great new character introduced in that game. Steve, I have a feeling you'd agree.
Yeah. I think Horizon had a ton of great new characters, but yeah, Katalo was great.
Katalo was awesome. I love his character arc. And also, Sage from Sonic Frontiers. I love the idea of seeing Sage hopefully become a recurring character.
Damn
in
it.
that universe.
Ash steals stuff.
Did I do it again? Ah, I'm sorry. I didn't think I would. Especially because I didn't think you liked Frontiers very much. But
I don't like Frontiers, but I like Sage.
Fair enough. But yeah, I guess that it's got to be. Ask me a different day of the week. It might be one of Mio, Uni, Tyon, or Banana. But today it's Uni. She's the bus. That's what 3 of us for Uni now so far.
Yeah, I nearly put Uni down. I was thinking of the entire cast because it's not my favorite story in the series, but it is my favorite of the parties. So I was trying to figure out who my favorite was, and it came down to 2 different games actually. It was Elden Ring and Xenoblade 3. I was trying to choose between. Elden Ring's got a lot of great characters, and surprisingly, the voice behind these characters is the same. So, Amy Edwards is the voice behind Rana the Witch from Elden Ring and Mio from Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Oh, really?
I was trying to decide which one is better because they're both so great. But Mio is one of my favorite characters of this year. She is
my man.
Yeah, she is just so fun and strong and entertaining.
I have a feeling she'll rise up as I get further along.
Yeah. She develops a ton of absolutely. There's some very hard-hitting moments, and her last line delivery is one of the best deliveries I've heard in a long time in video games. And it sounds like Brandon might be echoing what I'm saying by his reaction.
As far as my Xenoblade 3 pick, because my Ash does come from Elden Ring.
Okay.
My favorite character of this year is Starscourge Radahn and his.
Okay.
Wait.
Starscourge Radahn is this big man. And
He's a big man.
Horse named Leonard that he rides on, and in his lore, he went as far as to learn gravitational magic so he could continue to ride his itty bitty horse named Leonard.
What the hell?
It's so funny.
That's pretty cute.
He loves his horse. He will not let him go.
Yeah.
But
it's a good pick.
I wish I had a frame of reference. I know there are a lot of great characters in Elden Ring. Just didn't get a chance to play it myself, but it sounds fantastic. And going really quickly back to your love for Mio, Brandon, and you too, John. That one scene where she essentially interrupts one of the villains, monologues, and she's just like, "Shut up! Just shut up already!" I fell madly in love with her from that moment on. I was just like, "You're the best. They're all the best. But only one can be the bus, though." Excuse me, Steve. What about you, my friend?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, mine is Sage from Sonic Frontiers, and I think it speaks volumes.
My bad. Okay.
Yeah, that's my number one.
Way to go, Ash.
I know. Sorry, my bad.
No worries. I didn't like Sonic Frontiers. I still think Sonic Frontiers is not a very good game. I think it's like a mess of designers that all had competing ideas, and Sega just threw it all in a pot and said, "Okay, we're doing all of them." But the one thing that I really liked was Sage started out really annoying for me. Like, I thought it was just kind of a bland, lifeless character. But as you play through the game more and you see how you see what her real relationship with Eggman is, you start to understand why she behaves the way she does towards Sonic. And she helps to reveal a side of Eggman that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
And kind of her for lack of to use a dated wrestling term, her face turn toward the end of the game. I really truly hope that of all the things that Frontiers should carry over to whatever the next Sonic game is, I really hope we see Sage. Because if you've played through the game, you know what I mean, that there's hope for her to appear in the next game.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I'm really hopeful because I think Sage kind of serves as a great vehicle to make Eggman a little less one-dimensional. And I would really like to see him also be more fleshed out as a character, because I think there's a lot of good you could do, but also it's nice to have an interesting character on the antagonist side, which I don't think we've had in a while in the Sonic series.
Yeah, It's a much better new character than Infinite.
Way better. Yeah.
If you listen to the audio logs that you get from Big's fishing pool, there's some even more great development between Eggman and Sage. She's a great character. I don't think either of them really get their time in the sun in Frontiers. Like they're clearly both good characters, but they don't really get their time to really be a front-facing threat or anything like that. But you can already tell that the stones are there to build something greater for both of them. And yeah, Sage is one of the best characters of the year, absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Great picks all around. I love how so many of us landed on Uni specifically. I figured it would be dominated by Xenoblade 3, but I didn't know that it would specifically be Uni. But...
I thought Big Man would be in here somewhere.
Yeah, nobody picked Big Man. I just didn't play enough Splatoon 3. I mean, Big Man and Small Fry, great stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But there are some shout outs that were in chat. One of them is Small Fry from Splatoon 3. Very, very good lad who just does his best for you and a lot more towards the end of the game. Campaign. Another one I wanted to shout out real quick is Shez from Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes.
Okay.
Just showing you can do an interesting Fire Emblem avatar and have them speak. You don't have to be like Byleth or like other protagonists that have been in the past. You can have them speak and be an avatar character and still be very interesting and impactful to the story. I think there's something very positive with what they're going to do with Engage, and I think they're gonna all the design aside, there's gonna be more to talk about the character as the game comes out. So yeah, just shout outs.
Yeah,
nice.
I also liked with Shez that at least from the demo, you don't say exactly what they're going to say. You're just going to get a kind of a vibe, and then they respond, and it kind of can surprise you sometimes how they respond. Yeah, I did like that aspect.
You know, one thing I do want to shout out really quick, or one character. We spent so much time focusing on the main cast of Xenoblade 3, and that's totally fair. They're amazing. But so many of the heroes are so incredibly likable, too. And I got to give a shout out to Gondor. I love Gondor so
I don't think I've gotten to them.
Yeah, don't think you have yet.
They're coming up very soon.
Oh,
okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So good.
Yeah. What's that?
It's all about Triton in my house.
Oh yeah, Triton's amazing. Triton's amazing.
This could easily be derailed to a discussion about pretty much every single hero in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but we don't have time for that. We do have one more category to get to, as well as a few more super chats. So, first off, we have Kai Ed with 5,000 Costa Rican Cologne. Thank you so much.
Wow.
My good vibes game of the year is definitely Harvestella as well. As a Rude Factory fan and a Final Fantasy fan, having a game that's a mix between the two is a dream. I just wish the game was as good as Rune Factory 4. I'd like to go check out Harvestella. I never got a chance, but I feel like I'd like aspects of it.
I think you would.
I'm intrigued.
Next up is Disney Duncan, yet again with $2. Thank you so much. Resident Evil 4 or Resident Evil 8? John, are you excited for RE4 Remake? I'll let you take both those questions, man.
Resident Evil 4 for me. I think it's one of the best games ever made. 8, very, very good as well. I don't think it's consistently as good, but it has a lot of great moments. And yes, I'm excited for 4 Remake. I wasn't excited by the premise of it. I thought remaking Resident Evil 4 would be a waste. But seeing gameplay, like especially the most recent gameplay, it looks great, yeah. It won't be my most anticipated game, because we'll be talking about like that category in a moment, simply because I think that kind of deserves to go to something entirely fresh, but I have no doubts that it's going to be a great remake.
Yep.
Cool. I can't wait to play RE4 Remake myself. I'm so excited. Next up is... Oh, actually, that might be it for now.
I think that's
it for now.
That's it for now. All right. Well, then, that brings us to our final award of the day, our final category award, and that is our most anticipated 2023 release. And this does have to have a confirmed release date, not speculative, so no Kingdom Hearts 4, no FF7 Rebirth. It's got to have a confirmed release date, or at least release period, in 2023. And John, you were the first to start us off in our first category. Bring it home for us, man. Start us off with our final category here.
Okay, yeah, I was looking this over.
This is hard.
It's very, very hard, yeah. The first thing that came to my mind was Tears of the Kingdom, but I don't know if that deserves it yet, because we haven't seen it much. We don't know its hook. We know it takes place in the same high roll as Breath of the Wild. We know there's a Sky World, but they've shown so little that calling it my most anticipated just feels like an obligation, because I know it's going to be good and I'm going to love it, but I don't think it's shown me why it should be my most anticipated. And so mine actually goes to Hollow Knight Silksong. Hollow Knight is one of the greatest games of this generation.
Do we have a confirmed release date for that?
We kind of. They showed it during the E3.
Oh right, Xbox, they did say 2023.
Everything is coming within the year of that.
Okay.
And yeah, I actually played Silksong back in 2018, I want to say. Nintendo had this little closed E3 area, and I got to play around with, a little area there. And it was already great, but that might have been like 2019 maybe. But that was a lot of time ago now, and they've been building and building since then. I think the original Hollow Knight is so fun, one of the best Metroidvanias ever made. And it feels like they've just been cooking away and trying to perfect a sequel that can sort of not only be iterative and stand next to the original, but kind of elevate beyond that. And so, yeah, I am very, very excited for Silksong. And again, this is going to be a Game Pass game, it seems. Game Pass just keeps getting all these
indies,
little great gets, yeah. So I can't wait for this one. And again, I do think Tears of the Kingdom will be great. It'll probably be worth waiting for, but I just don't think that they have shown us why yet.
Fair enough. Yeah, I personally, unfortunately, kind of bounced off Hollow Knight, but I want to go back to it at some point because I know that I would probably love it if I can just stick with it a little longer. But Silksong is just, I can't wait for it to come out, so just to make people happy. It's going to make so many people so happy. So many people so happy. Derek, what about you, man?
I mean, I'm kind of with John, where like there's a lot I'm excited for, and I could toss out a bunch, but I was coming down to it and really thinking about what am I truly like excited to play, and Zelda is absolutely up there, but as John said, we don't know a lot about it. It's just more Breath of the Wild, which is great, but I want something a little bit more. And you know what? Damn it. I believe in Yoshi P. He might have stuck his foot in his mouth a little bit in regards to this game, but everything I see of Final Fantasy 16 is interesting and different and just such a wild direction for this series to take at this point. So I got to go with Final Fantasy 16. I got to see what this game ends up being like, because I'll be honest, I've also kind of kept away outside of like the major trailers shown. I don't know a whole lot about it. That I don't know what I'm getting into or who or anything like that, but I'm intrigued to dive into that world and see what it's all about. So yeah, I have to give it to 16.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Steve, my man, I have a feeling I know what yours is, but I'm curious to know if you're right or wrong.
So little known fact about me. In the media room at E3 2019, during the Direct, when Nintendo put up the black screen that said the sequel to Breath of the Wild is in development, I immediately balled up $60 and threw it at my laptop. I don't need to know anything about this game. Sure. Like, they could literally say to pre-order it, you had to ride a horse there and then drag yourself over hot coals to get the copy, and I would still do it. There's no way that I could anticipate. Like, you would have to have a game of just ridiculous proportions for me to be more excited for it than Breath of the Wild 2. Like, I'm talking something on the order of like HD 2D Chrono Trigger or something like that. Right. So for me, it's an easy get for Zelda. Like,
I am so shocked. I was expecting Street Fighter 6 for you.
Me too. I was wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
I like Street Fighter a lot. I love Zelda. Like, Zelda is probably of series that are currently active, Zelda is probably my favorite series of all time. So I'm very hyped for Street Fighter 6, but Zelda easily, like, I think the release of a new Zelda game is the only thing that rivals like that pre-release hype of a new Nintendo console for me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so far we have all different choices. Let's see if this trend continues. Daniel, lay it on me, my man. What is your most anticipated?
Yeah, I was worried that everyone was going to say Tears of the Kingdom and that they were all going to be wrong. But now I know only one person wrong.
Nice.
You're not excited for Tears of the Kingdom. You're excited for the sequel of Breath of the Wild. And we don't you don't even know what you're gonna like, what your starting weapon is for that game. Like, it's fine.
I don't even need to know.
It's fine. It's fine to be excited for it, but I can't define it as something you anticipate when you don't know any information about it. So the one that I'm anticipating myself is probably not surprise to anyone, would be Fire Emblem Engage, because I actually know things about it, unlike some other games that aren't being told.
You're anticipating.
Okay, hold on though. You're telling me that you weren't hyped for it when they just announced it?
What was that?
That you were like, I'm going to need to wait and take a critical look to see what this Fire Emblem game is all about.
The first trailer actually shows you gameplay.
That is true.
Shows you the
We've seen gameplay of Zelda.
Oh, I mean, the thing is with Zelda is I don't need to see anything. Like, I don't need to see another trailer. I can just buy that game and play it. But I don't know. I just don't feel like excited. But I will. I know.
I mean, I'm down for it. I'm going to be getting it launched. There's no doubt about that. But I just
see for me, Zelda's a known quantity in that I have never picked up a Zelda game and then been like, wow, I regret that. I've never ever regretted buying a Zelda game.
Oh, go ahead, Daniel. Sorry.
Granular definition of what anticipated means. That's pretty much all that's about. But for me, it's Fire Emblem Engage, because we see daily. There's on the Japanese account. There's a dedicated Twitter account for that. You see daily updates about that. We don't get that in the English, unfortunately. We get like a random dumps of 8-minute trailers that aren't always translated right away. But we do get a lot of information of what it's about. The animation looks fantastic. The fact that they're dipping into legacy characters, I think, it's controversial, because I feel like as long as they don't lean too far into that, into their legacy content, it could be a really great game. As long as the story kind of focuses on these new characters, which all look very much, they're very colorful. It reminds me back to the Game Boy Advance game. I don't know why. It feels like it's gonna be more gameplay oriented than actually the story itself, which is what I. A lot of trailers and such. But yeah, characters that they've introduced, they look really good. The music, there's been like 10-second snippets in all these trailers, but the music is it's going to be a really good soundtrack from what I've heard so far. And yeah, I'm excited for people to stop talking about the main character's hair so that we can actually talk.
Hey, I love the main character's hair personally, but I also have infinite tolerance for
that doesn't bother me.
Craziness. I love it.
Yeah, I should. I'm really hyped for Engage. It's just, to me, it's like on a slightly lower tier than Zelda. I actually love.
There's a lot to be excited about this year. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
If it's even half as good as Three Houses, it'll be one of my favorite games next year.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure. And Steve, just kind of circle back. Like, I totally get where you're coming from, man. Like, even if Zelda isn't my pick, there are certain games for which you could show no gameplay and just a logo sting, like Mega Man Legends 3. I'm done. I don't care what I'm just I'm excited. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. I'm going to be hyped, and that's how I feel about Zelda. Like you said, John, I don't need to know that much. It's Zelda. I'm excited about it. But so I
I felt that when they showed off Kingdom Hearts. They finally revealed Kingdom Hearts 3. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Excuse me, my voice is going. Brandon, what is your pick, my man?
Steve is a man after my own heart. I agree. I would actually rather know nothing about the game going into launch, because I already know it's a game that I'm going to play. That I'm going. Ever since that reveal in 2019, this has been like priority in my brain. I think the only thing that could top it for me right now is if they announced like Monster Hunter 6. Right now, it's all Zelda, baby.
Fair enough. Can't blame me there. Well, my pick is not Zelda. I'm looking forward to it, obviously. That's a day one play for me no matter what. It's Zelda, but that is not my most anticipated game of 2023. So actually, an indie game that I'm so incredibly excited for literally just got a confirmed release period in summer of 2023, and that is Sabotage Studios' Sea of Stars. It is heavily
I didn't realize it got a release date.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Well, no, it's a release period. They say confirmed summer. So, but yeah, I mean, it is heavily Chrono Trigger inspired. It is technically a prequel to The Messenger. I also did a little preview of it, I think earlier this year, and they said it was also inspired by Illusion of Gaia, which is a game that is so incredibly special to me. And Sea of Stars would be my pick if the September 2022 Nintendo Direct did not happen, but it did happen. And a little game called Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line. God, excuse me, my voice. A little game called Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line was revealed out of nowhere in the September Direct, and that was like a dream announcement for me that I never thought we'd get. I have been saying for years that I wanted a Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy game on, consoles. And Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory was a version of that. It is a kind of a Kingdom Hearts Theater Rhythm game. Great game, really liked it, but it's not quite the same as core Theater Rhythm. And this is it is the dream game for me. It's got, if you get the digital premium deluxe crazy edition, it's over 500 songs. And you guys know I love my rhythm games. I love my video game music, especially my Final Fantasy music. And it isn't even just Final Fantasy music. The DLC is going to have Nier, Chrono Trigger, Xenogears, Live Alive, everything. It's going to have so much. And so over 500 songs, gameplay I already know I like. This game is going to absolutely consume my life. And if it weren't for Theater Rhythm, it would be Sea of Stars, and I can't wait. But some of you in chat already predicted, you already knew. I've been talking about it, raving about it. My most anticipated game of 2023 is Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line. And yeah, who's surprised? No one's surprised. Everybody knew I was going to say that. I tried to throw people off by talking about
you actually did throw people off, so congrats on that. So
nice.
When it comes to like digital bonuses, like the super deluxe or the special deluxe editions, so with every game, it's always like, oh, this character gets a new pair of shoes. Like, I don't care about this.
Yeah.
But when you look through everything you get here, it's like, oh, this is pricey. Is this too much? And you just get your wallet out. Like,
it's $100 for 500 songs. That seems like a pretty decent deal.
Look, I spent $100 on Curtain Calls DLC, so to spend $100 on 500 songs is a no-brainer for me. It's not even. And as Juan Delgado in our patron chat says, Octopath Traveler music, The World Ends With You music. It's got everything. It's crazy. So
again, to just show how stacked next year is, we got Octopath Traveler 2 coming. We got just so
Dragon
much.
Quest 3 HD 2D must
hopefully.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's just so much coming out next year. I mean, Octopath Traveler 2, we haven't talked about that. That's also coming.
Yeah.
Like, there's
Pikmin 4.
Pikmin 4.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe we'll actually get a Rhythm Heaven game next year. Nintendo, maybe. Possibly. No. But yeah, so that does bring us to the end of our Game of the Year 2022 category awards. And I hope you all have had as much fun as we've been having, because this has been a blast, you guys. And we do, thankfully, have a few more super chats to read out. You all are so incredibly kind.
Seriously.
Thank you. Next up is RecBCQ, back yet again with $5 more. Thank you. No one mentioned Nico from Xenoblade Chronicles 3 for best character, and she's very upset. Nico is her, by the way. Rec, I love you. I love you so much
gimmick.
for this comment. Yes, I love Nico, and I love you for that comment. Thank you for the super chat. Completely agree. Kai Ed is back with 5,000 more Costa Rican Cologne. Thank you so much. Final Fantasy 16 is definitely my most anticipated game, even though the last trailers make it look like a really edgy version of 14. But I trust Yoshi P with my life, especially after landing Endwalker. There you go.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that. I think Derek feels the same way.
I haven't even gotten to Endwalker yet. I'm still in Stormblood. So, but yeah, I just everything you hear about the man, especially the way he turned around 14, is just like, jeez.
Yeah. Next up is our good friend and patron Killamox with $10. Hey, GVG crew, Happy New Year. Happy I could tune in for a bit. My most anticipated game for 2023 is easily Octopath Traveler 2. Love the first game so much. Can't wait to sink 100 hours plus for the sequel. Agreed.
Please don't tie your crossover stuff to a stupid secret final boss or super boss that, oh, God. Make the grinding better.
I can't wait to see what
grinding.
they've learned. Yeah. It's been a while. They've picked up on what went wrong.
I hope so.
The one thing I want is just less grinding but I love the first game. Really looking forward to the second. And thank you so much for the super chat, Killamox. Next up is $9.99 from Hustlebones. Back again. Thank you. We got Live Alive, Chrono Cross, and Sea of Stars is coming. Surely Square sees the demand for Chrono Trigger still persists with these directly related games. What are the odds on a 2D HD remake?
It has to happen at some point, right?
Yeah, I want to say it's high, but we've done all these years with that the Steam port came out poor, but it's really good now.
Yeah.
But we've still gone all these years with them keeping it on Steam. So who the hell knows?
I don't know. And I think there's even more. I saw somebody in the live audience mention Chained Echoes as kind of Chrono Trigger-ish.
I've heard a
I've
lot
heard
about
good
Chained
things.
Echoes recently.
I've heard a lot of
Yeah.
good things about Chained Echoes made by
Yeah.
one guy. Apparently, it's fantastic.
I wanted to bring that up actually at some point because this game, I don't know why people call it Chrono Trigger, probably for just the way it looks, but it's more inspired by games like Secret of Mana, Suikoden, Terra Enigma.
Oh, okay.
That's where the real inspiration comes in because the battle system is completely not Chrono Trigger. It's not ATB. It's turn-based, traditionally turn-based.
Oh, good to know.
A very well thought. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Daniel, my man, you just said Suikoden as well, and we've got.
Oh God, we do have Suikoden coming out.
These
Yeah.
are like the perfect remakes. They look absolutely stunning. It's like it's a mix of the original style and HD 2D. It looks beautiful. And what I love too is you can go back to the original mode. You can go back to the original visuals, put it in 4:3 if you want to. It contains the original and remakes it in a way that is really loyal. And the audio too, like there's new sound effects, new footsteps. It just looks great. And then the spiritual successor as well, which the name escapes me right now. I forget.
Ayuden Chronicles.
Ayuden
Yes.
Chronicles?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, great time for that series.
What else were you saying about Chained Echoes, though, Daniel?
I was just going into like a brief little description of what it's like because the battle systems is really interesting because you have like you have a party of 4, but eventually that becomes a party of 8 because you're all paired up together and you can switch per turn, but you're also trying to keep there's a meter on top of the screen where you want to where whenever you take an action a little needle moves and you want to stay in the overdrive portion that'll boost your party's stats and such, but your certain actions that you make will make it go up and down. So you can't use the same kind of skills every turn, and it encourages you to experiment because whenever a battle ends, you get all your HP and TP back. So you start off from square one whenever you start a battle again. And yeah, it's just really interesting how all the mechanics kind of layer on each other very elegantly. The story is pretty good so far actually. All the characters are well thought out. The writing is interesting. They drop like an F-bomb somewhere, so like whoa, okay.
There you go, cool.
Early on, and you get mechs. This is a story with mechs. I didn't even mention that.
Mechs make everything better.
Yeah.
Early on, you get a taste of that control for mechs, but then later on, you also get that again later. And it's just a lot of cool ideas from like those classic JRPG, like 16-bit style RPGs. Just kind of blended very elegantly into one, and it's really good so far. I'm about like 15 hours or so in, but yeah, I recommend it for all you guys who are into games like that.
Awesome.
I'd really like to check it out. I don't really have the time for another RPG right now, but I want to at least check it out because I've heard so many good things.
It's like a 30 to 40 hour JRPG style, so
at least it's not super long then, like Xenoblade or something. That's good.
Yeah.
And just to go back to answer your question, Hustlebones, the odds on a 2D HD remake, the self-punishing part of me wants to say the reason Square have not ported Chrono Trigger to the Switch yet or to modern consoles yet is because they're working on an HD 2D remake. But I know better. I know that life isn't that fair, and they're probably not. I don't know what it is with them in Chrono Trigger. It's so weird. But I hope that happens someday. I'm not expecting it, but I will be so incredibly over the moon happy if it does. We'll see.
Yeah.
Next up, Disney Duncan is back again with $5. Thank you. This Christmas, I got one brother Xenoblade 3, my other brother Resident Evil 2 Remake, and my dad a PS5. Well, you are a
very
generous.
Wow.
Jeez.
You're a great gift giver. They are all very happy people, I imagine. Thank you very much, Duncan. And then one more, Oscar Navarro with $5. Thank you so much. Daniel, don't feel alone. My most anticipated game is also Fire Emblem Engage.
Yay.
Hell yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
There's a lot to look forward with that one. I'm excited.
Seriously.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on it, Daniel. Just as a hardcore Fire Emblem fan, I'm really looking forward to seeing how it lands for you. And I don't care what anyone says, that main character's hair is fire, and you can't tell me differently. I love it.
Yeah, I actually really like the design of the main character.
Yeah.
I don't get all the complaining.
Honestly, I think
Same.
the character is really good in like the drawn art, but when you see the 3D models, it kind of loses something. I think for some of them. Otherwise,
Yeah.
they all stand out. Like that's the thing.
Right.
Like, they're
Right.
very, very well designed in that sense.
I like how colorful it is.
Me too.
Well, compared to Three Houses, which everyone was kind of, I just remember red, yellow, blue. But now you've got like the whole rainbow with just a few main characters that you've seen so far, and it's fantastic.
And Gray Fox in our YouTube chat says Joy-Con hair. Yeah, it's funny. I didn't think about it. It is just really Joy-Con hair. I love it.
Lighter,
I've seen a few people in our live audience talking about Project Cross Zone 3. I think it could happen. I think it's around time.
You think?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
I mean, Monolith Soft, they've got a lot of employees. They've, I think they could have handled another project within 3's development, and I would adore to see that franchise come back. It's so wacky, and I think that there could be a big audience for it on the Switch.
Yeah,
I'd love to see it come back myself. Yeah, I mean, if it could happen. It is the only new game that could come out next year, or probably in the next several years, that would have X and Zero in it. So sign me up.
Yeah, there you go.
We're getting X9, so
bring Klonoa back.
There was an early chapter in Cross Zone 2 that had Tales of Vesperia characters talking to Fire Emblem Awakening characters, and I'm like, this is the chapter that was just made for me.
Yeah, people don't talk about this, but 2 had Xenoblade characters and Fire Emblem characters in
They
there.
did. They also spoiled the hell out of the original Xenoblade with their characters.
They do.
So
well, they do. John, you said bring Klonoa back. Hell yeah! I mean, we saw how well Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series did sales wise, and I would love to see Klonoa 3 so much. And I saw someone mention that they were surprised I didn't choose the Fantasy Reverie series for my Good Vibes Award, and that's because I wanted to choose something that came out this year. I love Klonoa to death, but they are re-releases at the end of the day, and so I just wanted to pick something new. But I didn't forget about Klonoa.
Did you see the English Bandai Namco account name dropped Klonoa Heroes in English, which has like never been done before?
Really? No.
Yeah, so they called it they gave it like a subtitle, which I think is like a fan subtitle, but the fact that they acknowledged it is nuts. They're re-releasing the soundtrack, and they just tweeted its name. You can't just do that.
No, you can't. No, you really can't. Yeah, just like Sakurai, you can't just stare directly at the camera and say, "Man, I really wish Nintendo would give us Kid Icarus Uprising on Switch." You can't just do that. You can't.
Fun thing I learned in my research for the Xenoblade retrospective is when Project Cross Zone 2 was being developed, they asked to have Bayonetta in there, which would give us our first interaction between Bayonetta and Dante.
Oh.
And
right.
I think what's his head of Platinum bands everybody? What's his
Kamiya?
Kamiya. Yeah, Kamiya nixed it because he was like, I'd rather do something like that on my own terms with me at the helm. And then he saw how well Cross Zone 2 turned out, and he's like, I should have done it. So I think if a 3 comes out, he'll probably A-OK it, allow Bayonetta to be in it.
That would be awesome. So much to look forward to in 2023, and I think we can all agree that 2022 was a banger of a year for gaming. So much great stuff came out this year, as evidenced by the discussion we just had. And we did get one more super chat coming in during our discussion just now from Blade Blur with $5. Thank you so much. Thank you for the wonderful content throughout the year, fellas. You became one of my favorite channels to watch. Have a great 2023 and much love. Well, thank you so much. Much love to you.
Really
we're just getting started.
Seriously.
We're not going anywhere. Yeah, we're firing all cylinders, and we're just going to keep doing better and getting bigger in 2023 and beyond. And that, as I said at the beginning of this, that is all thanks to all of you who support us and believe in us and watch our content. Thank you so very much. And it has been great to close out the year with all of you and with all of us, the whole crew here together. It's been really nice. I know we've had our individual Game of the Year videos, and you all out there seem to really like those, and I'm so glad that we were able to deliver those. But also, I really wanted to make sure we did something together, and I'm really glad we were able to make that happen as well. Derek, what has got you cracking?
Oh, Daniel giving Brandon a big old hug.
Oh, I love it.
And yes, you can definitely expect Steven Ash's Game of the Year top 3 to be coming out tomorrow and Saturday. So we're closing out the year with those.
And thank you all so very much. I thought this would go a bit longer than it did. I'm pretty impressed that we were able to wrap up in a little bit over 2 hours. So thank you all so much. As a reminder, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/gvgaming. You can support us for just starting at $1 a month. That gets you into our Discord community, which is the best, most wonderful, accepting community on the internet, bar none. $5 gets you into our live audience tier, where you can participate in the live audience chat you see on your very screen right now. We've also got tons of other perks. If you join our executive producer tier, you get to have your name scrolled at the end of each GVG cast and all of our feature videos, as well as play games or hang out with us twice a month, play games. It's a lot of fun. Our Fight a Founder tier, super popular, one-on-one sessions with any of our GVG founders. Play whatever game you want. It's a lot of fun. So we do offer a ton of cool perks over on our Patreon if you want to check that out. But even if you can't, that's okay. Just like and subscribe here. Every little bit really does count. And since we're not having a GVG cast, I would like to go ahead and do the honorary EP scroll readout. Derek, are you ready to run that, my friend?
Yep. Let me just get the producers up right now. And
all right,
you can go ahead and start. Obviously, thank these guys too.
For sure. So obviously, yes. Thank you to all of our patrons at the producer tier and above for helping to make everything we do happen. Because without your support, we couldn't. So thank you very much. And as always, for the last time this year, I have to give an extra special shout out to all of our patrons at the executive producer tier and above. And those incredible, wonderful, amazing, lovely folks include Brandon Bovia, Cutie Caitlin, Fangs, Z Patty, Just Brian, Sky Blue Flames, Eastman23, Adam O'Sullivan, Richard Herrera, Logan Daniel, The D-Pad, Vesmio, Waffle King, Critter XD, Joy Content, Angel Martinez, Vedron, Benny Yao, Blindman, Azran127, Black King, Pagrema, Geller, Joseph Rutkin, Titus Malvolio, Geeky Griffin, Lucky Wonderfish, Kyle, Wataniac, Top Dog 23100, Young Ben Kenobi, Doug Shomix, Andrew Medeiros, Brady Power, Darchi, Becca, Killamox, Eddie B, Michael McCaw, Matthew Wong, Goron Amber CPHT, Too Much Spaghetti, 1 second, excuse me, Aim 400, Ascaron 809, Ryaner, Nathan Steele, Spicy Atanda, Rain and Clouds. I'm so sorry, you guys.
I'll take over for a bit. The Game Orb, Super Gamer Dude 101, Grantles, Ravolox, Synchro Lord, Rosa Pardo Bowling, Mega Amster, you're with your mom. Mega Amster, Darksteel 01, Jason Uloa, Jaden Buck, Cystic Warrior 29, DJ Jurassic, Super Dank Awesome Unicorn Guy, Derek, Colin, Blaystar 25, Mumbling Yeti, Cameron Sharp, Keel, Moon Knight, Brendan Hesse, Noah Fitterer, Calvin Atkinson, Brainchild, the entire state of Wisconsin, Jim Wakeland, Longboy Shiggy, Andy My P, Ad, Kyle the Monarch, Dan Alpha Lion, Lord Metarex, Kyle Gamer and Barry Rookie, Salad Dinner, Blaze Collard, Eric, Turbo, DGC, Cat EV Person 5, Lady Maxillary, and Dr. Ryan.
I'm afraid Ash is dead. He's gone.
No, I'm good. I'm good now. Thank you all so much. Thank you for taking over, Derek, my voice. I don't know what's going on.
But, it's 2 hours.
That's true. But yeah, thank you all so very much. It is a pleasure and an honor to read out that list every single time. We love you all. Have a wonderful new year. Happy New Year with your friends, family, some awesome games, and we will see you in 2023. Good night and good vibes. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. See you next year.